Well, greetings from Venice. That's Venice, Florida, not Venice, Italy, but it's good to have you here. Hey, in a moment, I want to share some quick thoughts with you I've been thinking about as I drive through Florida today, all about how to keep your faith alive, invested, and active. How to turn inactive faith into active faith. Jump into that in just a second. I'm in Florida this week. I was in Fort Myers the last couple of days. Just stopped and seen some friends I haven't seen for several years in Venice. I'm making my way up to Sarasota. I will be at a campground this evening, a Christian camp retreat center I'm doing. And speaking in Bradenton tomorrow, and then down back to the Naples region and end up in Miami at the end of the week, and then back to New England. So good to have you here. Again, lots of things going on, but check out the links below, somewhere below, and encourage you to sign up for our email newsletter. So let's talk about faith. Let's talk about faith, baby. I find, and I understand this because I used to be that guy too, a lot of people have these weird ideas or misconceptions around the subject of faith. And I will very often, literally every week, hear people say things, and it's like I'll sit there going like, where did you get that, sweetheart? Like, what planet, what have you been reading the Book of Mormon? I don't say that because I'm nice, but that's not biblical thinking. And you hear people talk about, my faith's not strong enough, I don't have enough faith, if only I had more faith. You hear people praying for faith, critiquing their own faith. You'll often hear somebody say things like, that person had all the faith in the world, and why didn't God answer their prayers? I literally will, I never want to be rude, and of course some people are emotionally vulnerable when they're saying something like that, but I often sit there going like, where on earth did they get this stuff from? And I want to share a few quick principles that will really help you about faith. Let me begin by reading a Bible verse. I'm going to read it in the New King James and the Classic Amplified. 2 Corinthians 13:5, Paul says, or the Holy Spirit says through Paul, examine yourself. Give yourself an MRI. Examine yourself and see whether you are in faith. Now, of course, he's talking about whether you're in the faith in a larger sense, walking, still having faith in Jesus. But at a micro sense, if you're believing God for healing, examine yourself and see whether you're in faith. If you believe in God for a breakthrough in an area of your life, examine yourself and see whether you are in faith. The Classic Amp says, examine, test, and evaluate your own selves to see whether you are holding to your faith and showing the proper fruits of it. Test and prove yourselves, not Christ. Test and prove yourself and not Christ. Do you not yourselves realize and know thoroughly by an ever-increasing experience that Jesus Christ is in you? So, I think it's good to examine ourselves. Jesus comes. Jesus is the great faith examiner. Jesus is the great faith tester. Everywhere he went for 3.5 years, he would lift up the stone or the rock of somebody's life and quantify or examine their faith. There's been a sort of a meme going around in the evangelical church for the last 30 or 40 years that it's wrong to examine somebody else's faith. I've noticed it's always wrong to do, it's not wrong by the way, but people do this in one direction and not in the other. I'll give you the example. Imagine you're in a church and you see somebody prayed for and they don't get healed. And then somebody stands up and says, that person didn't have enough faith. Now, I get it. I would never do that. I'd never allow anybody to do that. I've never seen anybody actually do that. But we would probably all agree that that might lack, that could sound judgmental or, crass, or, oh, you didn't get healed. You don't have enough faith. It's funny. The people who critique that, though, they never mind examining somebody's faith in the opposite direction. They will look at somebody who wasn't healed and say, I don't get it. That person has all the faith in the world. They've got so great faith. Why aren't they healed? And if you think about it, to judge in the positive is just as much judgmental as judging in the negative. If I said, this is a dreadful cup of coffee, I'm judging and evaluating this cup of coffee. It's not, but I would be doing that. If I said, wow, that's an amazing cup of coffee, I'm judging the cup of coffee. Judge doesn't mean only negative, it just means to judge, to evaluate, to examine, to pronounce upon. And here's what, if you'll think about it, what always happens. The people who judge people in the past, that lady had all the faith and they weren't healed. They end up judging God. And Paul is actually saying here, examine, judge, test yourself. Don't put God on trial. He's not on trial. Put yourself on trial, the trial of your faith. And everywhere Jesus went, he would look at people's faith. He went to the centurion in Matthew 8 and said, I've not found so great a faith in all Israel. He would often come to somebody, like usually his own staff, his disciples, and say, where is your faith? Why is it you have so little faith? He said to the woman of Canaan, oh woman, great, literally mega is your faith. You've got mega faith. Yeah? Jesus said in Luke 18, when the Son of Man comes, will he find, that implies a search, will he find faith on the earth? So Jesus is the faith examiner. And rather than me go along thinking my faith is rich and increasing goods and I've got all this awesome faith, and Jesus coming and saying, Graham, you're poor, miserable, naked and blind, rather than that, I would suggest to you, I don't want God to examine my faith and call me on the carpet. I want to learn to seek his examination. I want to examine my own faith, or I want to come to the Lord and say, Lord, would you show me how you see my faith so that I might improve, I might work. And here's the thing, I've noticed this in America more than anywhere else in the world. We tend to think of faith like this quantifiable substance that we can own or possess. Like I could say, how is your portfolio? Your stock portfolio, your investments? And you might say, Graham, I don't have any, or I'm in debt, or I have $1,000, or I have $1 million, or $100 million. And you could tell me you have an asset that's banked, that stays there, that unless you sell it isn't really going to go anywhere. It may go up or down, but it's not going to go anywhere. And I think so often we think of faith in that way, like, do you have faith? How much faith do you have? And the key to understanding faith is really this. Faith is all about faith. You can't bank faith. You can't store it up for a rainy day. You need to use faith. And the question, when Jesus examined people's faith, he wasn't looking in some abstract philosophical way at the core tenets or beliefs of their heart. He was actually looking at what they did, what they said, at their confidence, at their reliance. Were they expecting him to come through? Faith is an act, Smith Wigglesworth used to say. Faith is what we're doing. So I think the only way to grow in faith comes by hearing by the word of God, but faith grows through usage, through investment. Faith grows when you do something with your faith. That's the bottom line. And I lovingly want to challenge you today, and I want to get you to examine yourself, and think and answer this question. What do you believe in God for right now? Where is your faith invested? In what area could you fail right now if God didn't come through? If you don't have an answer to that one, you're not in faith. What do you believe in God for? What have you taken the faith you have, and where are you using it right now? You know, if I said to you, my house has electricity, that, I know in a common usage we'll go like, okay, Graham, you've got wires, and I'm like, yeah. But I don't store electricity in my house. Rather, I'm connected to the grid, and occasionally I flick a switch and put a demand on the electrical system of the national grid in the state of Massachusetts. And I tell you, the way you grow in faith is you put a demand on your faith. You keep the switch of faith turned on. You keep it activated. You keep it invested. And how do you daily invest your faith? Well, take it to the gym. Use your faith. You grow in faith when you use your faith. Let me finish with this today, but I think this will really help you. I would say to you, begin to believe God for small things. Begin to practice having a little portfolio of things. I mean, believe God for a great day. Yeah. Believe God for health for today. Believe God to lead and guide you today. Believe God He'll order your steps today. Believe God for provision today. Believe God for victory over sin today. Believe God to increase your walk and intimacy with Him today. Just begin believing it. Take your faith out of your bank account and trade with it. Do something with it. Invest your faith and it will grow. The way you grow your faith is use your faith. Yeah. In I think it's about Luke 18, the disciples come to Jesus and say, Lord, increase our faith. And Jesus never lined them up and prayed for them. What Jesus did is talk about a servant who comes in maybe at 4 o'clock out of the fields and then puts his feet up when there's still work left to be done in the house. And Jesus in this parable says, don't you go to that servant and you say, no, keep working until you've done the job, till you've completed the task. And I want to say, keep the pressure on your faith. Keep your faith active. The way you grow faith is very much like the way you grow muscles. You could say, I have muscles. Everybody has muscles or you'd be dead. Are you using muscles? Are you developing your muscles? Are you investing your muscles? Are you stretching your muscles? Are you causing your muscles pain to some degree? And if you are, they will grow. So take the quality decision today to invest your faith and watch what God does with it. Selah. Guys, again, check out the links below. Share this video, sign up for our email newsletter and all those good things. And I will hear from you real soon, or hopefully you'll hear from me. God bless you.